Well, hello there, and welcome to another edition of Johnny Davis Live. We're here on this Friday, April the 10th, 2026. That's right, we're going to be chatting with the one and the only Devon Alexander the Great. Like he's ready to punch somebody in the face. Right now, right now. How you
Right
doing,
now.
Devon?
How's it going, my friend?
It's doing good, man. It's doing good. Just going 100 miles an hour. Let me have you come a little bit closer to the camera, so
Okay.
make sure that we can hear you there. That's awesome. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
My
Yeah, yeah.
man.
For sure, for sure. Listen, man, it's a pleasure actually to chat with you today. I've been hearing your name for many years. As a former fighter, and watching you. As soon as your name came up again, it was like, oh man, that guy, he was good. He was good.
Yes.
I
Yes.
I, I remember this. I remember the name. I knew the name right off as soon as it was mentioned to me, and I said, hey, you know what? I got to get this guy on the show and everything.
Yes.
I know you're going to be
Yes.
at the PBSC tomorrow at the point sparring tournament. We'll get into that a little bit later. But right
Yes.
now, we just kind of want to dive into who you are, just to kind of re-educate fight fans,
Yes.
who you are, and some of the things that you've done, some of the things that you are doing, currently doing, and maybe plan to do. I will tell you in advance that my interview is a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? I'm not quite ABC. I kind of dive in just a little and all. But you know what? Let's just go and start with. I think the first elementary part of it. I want to ask you about what about your upbringing, wherever it was, however it was, that attracted you to the sport of boxing.
So what attracted me was my coach was starting a gym right next to my house. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri.
You can pull
Uh,
back just a little bit. You can pull back
okay.
just a little,
Okay.
just a little. Yeah.
And I grew up North St. Louis. 13 brothers and sisters.
Hold on, hold on, hold on. You just can't run past 13 brothers and sisters like that, right? Let's just stop there. Let's pause right
Yes.
there about that element, right? 13?
13.
Okay,
13.
in Missouri.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
I can see that going on in the South, right? Like where I was raised in South Carolina, but I didn't know. I mean, of course, I knew there were big families across the country and the far, but 13 brothers and sisters. Tell me, what was that environment like in your family?
Hectic, 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 crazy. Uh, Everything in the house we had to share. Everything, and we had a system. The boys had a system where if one boy wears something, I gotta wash it. The other boy wears something, we gotta wash it. And we had a system on how we did things. We was very poor, so it was very hectic, very
What do
hectic.
you think? Why do you think you classify yourself as very poor?
So I didn't have anything that you would say of value. I had talking shoes, like my shoes talked, like I
They
had
had
holes in my
they had a
shoes.
hole, they had a flap in them. Right,
Yes,
yeah, yeah. The sole was
sometimes
coming off of them.
I had to stuff my shoes with newspaper, just just to make do. And like I said, it was I had holes in my pants, hand me downs from the church, uh, stuff like that.
Do you
I
think
was.
did that what did that tell you about family and about maybe not having as many kids or whatever? I mean, did that kind of teach you something in that? If you think the kids were the things that maybe had them poor, or was it more something more economic? I
It
mean,
was.
when I say economic, I know it was economic. What I mean is based on who they were, where they were, and the society around them, perhaps as well. Maybe even
No,
their motivation. I don't know your parents.
yeah, it wasn't the society. I'm not even gonna play the victim with that.
Right.
I really hate the victim mentality.
Got
Uh,
it.
but it was we had it was rough, but I think mom and dad should have stopped. I don't know, it was rough. It was rough, man.
Was there like any kind of substance abuse and stuff like that that might have been?
No, no,
Wasn't that?
not that. I think it was just a lot of a lot of misguidance, a lot of the black community got a culture that needs to be changed. That needs to be
Right.
changed, and we have to stop just having babies just to have them. You know, we got to be more
They got
smart.
stuck. They got stuck in a rut.
Yes,
They got
yeah,
stuck in the mentality that, hey, I just want to have kids. I just want a boy. I want a girl. I want another one. I want another one,
yeah,
without thinking about the economic means to
yes,
actually take care of those kids. Do you think that
yeah,
that could have been the bigger problem? Because when they're here, they're here. You can't just throw them away, right?
yes,
Then they got to do whatever they have to do. Look. I came from a pretty big family too. I mean, we had like 8 or 9 kids in our family. My mom and my stepdad for me. They work really hard. My mom worked 2 and 3 jobs all the time. My stepdad worked a full-time job, get off and come and plow, people's fields, and I mean, we picked cucumbers, tobacco, crop tobacco. We did it all, to try
mm,
to make ends meet. So I was raised that way too, and it certainly did give me a certain perspective on life of what I did not want
yes,
for
yes,
for myself. So when I got the 3 kids, that was it. That was
yes,
it. How
yes.
many
I
kids do you
agree.
have?
I agree. I totally agree. When a wise man said, "You learn from the mistakes of others." You look at the mistakes that others have made before you, then you do the opposite. You
Right.
know, so
Right.
so
Well, you have
I
two
agree.
ways to learn. You can learn from your own mistakes, or you can learn from somebody else's.
Yes,
Ideally, you should try to learn from somebody else's mistakes,
yes,
more than your
yes.
own, even though obviously both ways work. I'm just kind of curious that because of that upbringing,
Mhm.
and maybe your surrounding, did that somehow attract you to something that might could have pulled you out of that situation in the future? And
I used
somehow it was
to,
boxing that attracted you, and why?
man, I used to pray to God every day to get me out of that poor state. I used to pray to God every day. I said, God, please get me out of this poor state and help me get out. And so when I found boxing, I found something I can do to get me out. Once I figured, I didn't know I was actually, let me take it back. I didn't know I was poor until I went to my first national tournament. And that's when I really realized, damn, I'm really living the wrong way. You know, because when you grow
What would a tournament? How would a tournament show you that?
so when you grow up in North St. Louis, right? When you grow up in North St. Louis, all you see is gangways, glass on the streets, trash in the streets.
Ah,
No, it's not. That was the first time I saw a hotel. So a hotel is nice, it's clean, is elegant, and so
ah,
when I saw that, I'm like, what the hell? This is not St. Louis at all. And
ah,
that's when it clicked to me. That's when my mentality really changed. And I dreaded going back every time. Every time I dreaded going back.
ah.
So it really clicked to me that I was a poor kid. So that kicked my training into overdrive. There was no stopping for me.
So you started dreaming. That's
Yes,
what happened. You started dreaming for things that could possibly pull you out. And like you said, it was tough to go back home. I know that well. I went through the same thing because I traveled a lot in my fighting career, and that made me see things. Right. And then when I would come back, I'm like, oh, wait a minute here.
I hated it.
No,
I
no.
hated it.
Yeah, hate is a strong word. I don't know if I
Yeah,
think
yes,
it's
I gonna say you're right. Thanks for correcting me on that. Thanks for correct. Yeah, it was a feeling of, oh, I gotta go back to this again. It was a feeling of the dread. It was dreadful, but you're right. I agree. My mom
yeah,
and
yeah.
dad.
Because the thing about what I try to be careful about, Devon, is that a lot of people put down like my neighborhood of where I was born, where I was raised, and all those type of things. But I say, you know what? All those people that came up in that neighborhood, I loved dearly. There were some great people that were working really hard, going to work every day, trying to do the right thing to raise their kids. But because of a lot of things going on, whether it was racism or just hard times or whatever it might be, kept them in a rut, right? And sometimes, many times, on their own accord, drinking, drugging, running women, all that kind of craziness also kept them, so you have to be responsible too. But I also make sure that I always try to recognize the good in that community, right? There were people out there who were really trying, who were really good people, and then some people who just gave up, right? And many times those that gave up are the ones you're going to see on the news, right?
Yes,
Right?
yes, yes.
Those are the ones that. But I still love my town of Newtown. When I go there in South Carolina, I still see dilapidated buildings and things like that. But at the same time, I still see people there struggling and trying. Some are still trying. And also, I try to give them a little hope, right? And even in my little fight thing that I did as a world champion as well, that gave a lot of youth and everything some inspiration. How important was that to you? Not only for you to reach your own goals in life, but knowing that there are some kids there who have seen the glass on the streets and the dilapidated buildings, that maybe you might be inspiring them to do better. How much of that was a part of it as well?
A big part, a huge part. That's why I said when I retire, that's all I'm gonna do. When I know what
Mm.
they're going through, I know I must speak to them just like I know they need to be spoken to, because I know exactly what they're going through. And and yes, a lot of them go fall by the wayside because those streets, they strong. It calls them for some reason, and and for some reason, God didn't give me that that knack to want to be in the streets.
Well,
He
hold on. Was it God or was it your mom and your daddy beating your behind? Which one? You can pick one.
both,
You can pick one of
both,
both.
both. That's a good point, man. Mama didn't play, dad didn't play. Man, I told it was both. It was both for
Right, right.
sure.
Like I told you, Johnny Davis Live, real talk with real solutions. I come at you straight. You don't get interviews like this, brother. I can tell you.
Yes.
No, no. I come. So when you said you were, when you got, how old were you when you started boxing?
I was 8 years old when I first went to my national tournament. I was 10. I was 10.
Okay. So when you first went to the gym, if you can go back for a moment, I want you to tell me about that first day, that feeling, because I'm going somewhere with this at the end, obviously. I want you to tell me about that feeling that you had, the trainer and his mindset and his perspective and everything about boxing. What was the very first thing on your very first day that you did? Let me ask, I'll go even a step further. Did you start fighting on your very first day? Did you spar on your very first day?
No, no,
Okay, I would
no,
hope not. I was hoping that was
no,
going to be it.
no. And I'm glad my coach did it because it would have ruined my mind.
Oh no! Oh no! So he's gonna have to go out and come back in and everything. Anyway, we're speaking right now to Mr. Devin Alexander. There, he's a three-time world champion boxer out of St. Louis, and he's fought some of the all-time greats. I mean, Madonna. I saw some other names. I have to go pull up the whole resume, but you can go and check out the entire resume and see all of the great fights that this young man has had. So he's going to go out and in for a second, I guess, whatever the going on with the Wi-Fi. We're going to go ahead and bring him back up now and finish that conversation that we were
I don't
having.
know what
So there
happened,
you go. Go ahead as you were.
but I when I went to the gym, I didn't know anything about boxing, mind you. It was just something to do to stay off the streets,
Right.
do something positive. Once I got into boxing, that's when I started to do my research and do my studies and understand the art of boxing and what it was. And then I fell in love with it. Literally, I can
Wow.
literally say the first day of boxing became the rest of my life.
Got
Literally.
it. Well, okay. That's a great. I like that statement. First day of boxing became the rest of your life. What were you in school? Obviously, at 8, 9, 10 years old, and everything. How were you in school? Were you like a good student in
I was
school,
a good
or
kid.
were
I
you
was
not so interested in school?
I was a very smart kid. I was a good kid. I'm a lefty. So I thought kind of different, but I was very, very wise for my age and very,
Right.
very smart. Yeah,
What was there ever a time when you thought about doing something else outside of boxing?
I did. I did. Yeah, I say to this day, I was good at technology. I'll be in computer science. I would definitely create the next big tech, whatever that is. I would be doing that. If I didn't box, I'll be in computer science for sure.
Wow, wow. Well, I'm gonna dive right into it. Do you have any regrets?
I do because that tech industry is a hell of a big field, and if I did do that, I'll be one of the big tech. You can I don't know. I don't know. You know, because boxing was my
Right,
life.
right. Well, because if you would have chosen something different, you wouldn't be here talking to me. You wouldn't have had
Yes.
three world titles, you know. And so it's hard to tell. I mean, I had aspirations and things about what I wanted to do and wanted to be, and you know what? I chose something different. I went a different route, you know, and you know, overall, it's worked out for me. But I tell people it's a very, very tough route to go now, and I'm going to get into that a little bit about you know today and how you're training, you know, fighters and things like that. But so you went through your amateur career. I do want to ask you about when you said you were going to national tournaments. Were you a part of like USA Boxing? Is that
Yes.
what you were doing?
Yes.
Okay. How many
USA
fights did
boxing.
you end up having in USA Boxing?
I had 314.
Oh my, okay. Oh my God, it's a lion. I have to say that. 300 and some amateur boxing
Yes.
matches.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right. Well, look.
I was a decorated amateur for sure. For
Oh
sure.
my God. So, did you actually go to the Olympics?
I did. I made it to the Olympic trial finals.
Oh
And,
wow.
and if you go back and look at the tape, it's on YouTube. They claim that the score was 16-16, and they claim he threw one more punch than me.
Oh, crazy.
And
Yeah, yeah.
and what I learned is boxing is very, very about politics.
Very political.
So back in the day, they say they wanted to save me for 2008 Olympics, and said they thought I was too young to handle it. Which no, and the guy they did take ended up getting stopped in the first round.
Oh,
He ended up
wow.
losing the first round. So
Hey, right.
I thought I beat the guy, but it's on YouTube, so you guys be the judge.
You know what? People don't understand how that stuff affects you forever.
Yes,
Forever. You can't take that back. You can't unring a bell. You can't
yes,
do it. And I know I've had some losses like that, you know, where people I know that were just stolen from me, just flat out stolen, right? And you go back to your neighborhood and you're like, oh my God, you have to just start. It's a terrible feeling
it is.
when you put in all that work, you know, to get there. But I want to talk about 300 fights. Okay, so you also know, I mean, you're doing pretty well. You know, you're speaking well and everything, you're articulate and all that, and that's great. But 300 fights is a lot of wear and tear on your body. That's a
Yes,
lot of wear
yes,
and tear on your body, right?
yes.
And so that's why we have this new program now, and we want to talk a little bit about that, you know, coming up. But do you actually, in the old school way, a lot of the trainers believe in, listen to this closely, they
Hmm.
believe in fighting in the gym, not sparring in the gym. So every day it's a fight in the gym. I'm not talking about the fight you're gonna have when you actually get to the event. But they're,
Yeah,
in other words, the guys are hitting very hard. Right now, you can go online and you can watch boxing sparring in some of these gyms, and they're everything. They're putting
really.
everything. I'm talking sparring from the kids to the older guys. They're
Wow,
trying to knock each other out. I had that experience where I actually trained with another world champion guy. They invited me over to Canada. The guy tried to kill me, you know,
wow,
and stuff.
wow.
So how was that for you in your environment, your gym, when you guys were sparring? Were you sparring hard like every day?
No, no, no. Some days we did just body shots. Some days we did defense. You know, working on
Nice,
defense.
nice.
But that was smart. But that's dangerous. Like when it comes to boxing, if you a slugger, you don't last in boxing. If you a person that likes to just bang all the time, you won't last in boxing at
You,
all.
you know what? It's so interesting that you say that. Now, you got a few minutes, right? Because I'm gonna dig a little bit.
Absolutely,
Listen,
absolutely.
When I saw you fight Maidana, I'm like, oh my God, this guy is so skilled. And what I'm talking about, some people just saw you win and hit and da.
Yes,
But I'm talking
yes,
about footwork, head movement, in, out, face back. I'm like, you got the total package.
yes,
Absolutely the total package. Fighting somebody like that, I don't know, had he already fought Mayweather by that time? Had he fought
yes,
Mayweather?
yes. He gave Mayweather trouble too, man.
He gave him a lot of trouble.
Me personally, I thought he beat Floyd the first fight. Go back and look at it.
Right.
I'm not. I went and watched it with no sound, no nothing.
Yeah.
You see, the judges gave it a split decision. That's what fight do you know of Floyd's a split decision?
Right. Right.
You know just how close it was.
Right.
I thought he beat Floyd the first fight.
Well, no split decision. It's like someone said, a split decision is just that, a split decision, and it's
Yes,
hard. It's always nobody's ever really going to agree on it, right? Just
yes,
certainly
yes,
the two sides because it's split, right? And so I get that, but listen, I have high regard for Mr. Floyd Mayweather. A lot of people like to beat. You're not trying to beat him up. You're just making a comment. But a lot of people try to beat him up. But let me tell you something. The guy's good. He's
yes,
really good. He's really
yes,
talented. He's done everything he needed to do to stay safe out there. And I
yes,
know he's having his effects and stuff like that. Might have another fight coming up and all of that because listen, he's done. People wonder why. Why would someone like that want to come back and box again? Because that's what he knows. What did you
yes,
say at the beginning? What was
yes.
that quote you said? Your
It,
first day?
it became the rest of my life. Yes,
Exactly. So
yes,
people like if you would have been that computer engineer, you would have been engineering computers and probably till you were going to sleep, for dying. And so
true,
even though
true.
boxer has a different kind of timeline because of it's physical, it's still if you have the ability. Because I'm 63 years old. Right? And I work out and people see me banging and da. And they're like, whoa, wait a minute, this guy can still
Yeah,
go. No, I'm not getting out there. I'm not,
you look good.
my time is over, right?
You look
And
good.
stuff. And so there is something about that. But so in the fight game, when you had tough fights like Madonna that you won, you also had some fights that you lost. What do you think the greatest lesson you learned when you actually won a fight?
So, so for me, humility. See, my dad,
Humility.
every tournament, every win. My dad died when I was young. I was 17.
Yeah, sorry.
But every tournament, he will. Everybody else be like, "Good job, David. Good job. Yeah, man. You." My dad would be like, "Good job, son. We
But
still, we still got more work to do. We still got so much work to do." That helped me. That really helped me. He humbled me every time because the excitement would never be there. But he'll be proud, of course. But he'll be like, "Good job, son. But remember, you still got a lot of work to do. You still got tons of work to do. You just amateur. You just this." So I understood what he did,
you were
and
17. You were 17 when you lost him.
yes,
That he was in your ear all the way up until that time.
yes.
What was it like after he left? How was that? I always say the noise is so loud that it's deafening. A whole nother thing. How was that after he left, though? Your motivation, your spirit. People can go two ways. They get demotivated in the fact that, oh, no, I don't want to do it anymore. Or now I want to do it in his spirit. What were your thoughts?
My thoughts was I gotta do it for him. I gotta do it for him uh, because he will want me to keep going and work my butt off and get that world championship. So I
Mm.
use that as motivation. Every trauma that I did go through as a kid, I used that to just keep going. I didn't see nothing else. All I saw was world title, tunnel vision, tunnel vision.
Focus. Hey, now, how did that actually make you live? Because again, I always like to refer, compare my stories,
Hmm.
because I lived a certain kind of way. I mean, I never drank, never smoked, They've never done drugs or anything like that. That's just the way I lived. And
Yeah.
it wasn't so much religion that was holding me. At one time, it was. I'll be honest, I'm not so much religious today, more spiritual, I would say. But I lived a certain kind of way. I didn't like overly chase women and stay out late at nightclubs and all that. What did it do for you? You said that was your focus? Were you pretty disciplined?
You sound just like me. You sound just like me.
Well, that's
So
why you were a three-time world champion, and
yeah,
I was a two-time.
you sound just like me
Right,
because I couldn't do anything else.
right,
I have no friends to this day. I got my wife and of course my kid, but I have no friends because I didn't have time to do what the regular people were doing. Go out to club. I didn't drink. I didn't smoke. I didn't do any of that. All I did was box and went home. Box and went home. Box and went home. And I did that for 30 years straight. So that's how I was able to capture and do all the things that I did because I was focused. I was zoned in. I was able to capture that. And that's what I'm trying to teach these kids now, man.
right.
You have to be selfish to yourself or you're not going to make it. You're not.
You absolutely no. You're 100% correct. I do want to pivot just on a little bit here. When I think about the routes that people take to reach the stardom. So you went the USA boxing route. That's really the kind of the only thing for a long time that's been out there for people to try to get to the Olympics or try to get to that idea of boxing. Some people did not go that way.
Yes.
Some people, like Bone Crusher Smith, who's also a part of our organization, by the way,
Okay.
and a lot of other boxers, namely, did not go the Olympic route. You
Hmm.
have people like like Jake Paul, right?
Hmm.
Who, even though he's kind of like some kind of ambassador or something now, he did not go the USA boxing route, right? What do you think about this new thing where a lot of boxers are going a whole nother route to reach the same amount of stardom, if not more? When we think about Jake Paul and the millions he's made,
Hmm.
what do
Hmm.
you think about that in today's society? The fact that there is an alternative map, roadmap to get to that level of success.
Well, it's just the evolution. I mean, we done had change throughout life, throughout time, and you're gonna have to get with the times. You can't. A lot of people like to stay in their bubble or stay like how things were, but you're gonna have to. Things are changing. What are you gonna do? Either you're gonna cry about it and still try to do it the old way, or you're gonna try to adjust and try to do it the new way. And I'm not saying change everything up,
Right,
but everything become modernized. Everything because it's so much technology out here. Everything become techie, and so you got to be willing to change. People that are willing to change and not stay stuck are really going to stay successful, and they're going to adjust. You're going to have to, or
right,
you're going to be one of those that's still complaining and it's still changing. So what are you
right.
going to do?
Well, you're 100% right, which is why we have the PBSC, right?
Yes, yes,
Which is the boxing sparring circuit. For those of you guys who do not know that, it is a semi-contact organization that I started probably right at 17, 18 years ago because boxing needs it. It is a big thing. We have it in Point Muay Thai, Point Kickboxing, and we have the largest organization in the country for that. And people just lose their mind about how great that is because we've had people start and then go all the way up to world title, right? In the pros. So when it comes to boxing didn't have that. And again, that mentality was just trying to take people out in the ring, in the gym, and then they get even more damage in the ring. So we created
yes,
this point concept for boxing that's all about points. Knockouts are not allowed, done on the mat, big gloves, and all of that. When you heard about that, and I know you talked with Mike Stegall, and by the way, you guys, we have a tournament tomorrow that's happening in Missouri that
yes,
one of our special guests is going to be Mr. Devon Alexander there.
yes.
There'll be a lot of people there interested in meeting you. But when you heard about the point boxing concept, what did you think about it?
Teaching.
honest.
Ching, ching, ching. Look, so the parents. I got a gym here in St. Louis. The most thing these parents are worried about is their kids getting hurt and their kids being safe. And if parents don't agree to what's going on, then how can you have the kids? You need the kids. So when I heard of the concept, I'm like, man, that's genius. I
Oh,
said,
wait a
wow.
minute. Hold on. Say that part one more time. That
I
the
said,
genius part. No, I'm kidding.
I said, man, that's genius. And when I talked to Mike, I said, I bet you any money he's you're gonna get a lot of pushback. I bet you get a lot of
Oh,
pushback
yeah.
from these gatekeepers. They think they gatekeep. They think they're the gatekeeper,
Exactly.
and that's why I say you're gonna have USA Boxing need to get with the program, or you're gonna get left. You're gonna have to switch it up eventually anyway. Somebody's gonna come along, like yourself, and you're gonna change the whole dynamic.
Right.
And what are you gonna do? If you got the backing, if you got the funding, what are you gonna do? You're gonna get in line,
You know what?
or
You know what? I did not even talk. This is the first time you and I actually have had a conversation. Am I lying?
yes, first time.
The first time we've had a conversation, in any kind of detail, I did not know. I assumed that the fact that you were going to be there, that you were an advocate for the idea, but I didn't know you were going to say what you just said.
Yes.
And you are, and even now. I'm on the Devon train myself, the Bond train myself,
Yes.
because this is what I have been trying to tell people that 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 you're going to get left behind. We had a
Yes.
young lady. I don't know if you've seen my Instagram page. It's AK Promotions Official, and we had a young lady on there who has never had an actual amateur boxing match yet, but she's had over 30 some PBSC sparring matches. She's
Wow.
getting ready to
Wow.
go, and done it in 2 years, and she's getting ready to go into like real amateur full contact boxing, right? And I
Wow.
bet you she is going to beat the tar because I've seen her. She's really talented, right? She is going to beat the tar of most of the people who are not doing this type of program.
Wow.
And this
Wow.
is why I know that it works. We've been doing this like what 17 years or whatever, right? And the fact that we have these boxers who are going in now, they're gonna have better footwork, better head movement, better, defense, offense, everything that is going to have them ahead of somebody who's in there just trying to take somebody out.
Yes.
Because now they have a chance to evaluate clearer. I want you to talk to me and talk to the audience about fear. I talk about claustrophobia in the ring, right? And the reason why people get so nervous in the ring is because they're enclosed,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
claustrophobia is a fear, and it
Yes.
makes them hit harder. That's why we're not in the ring. That's why we're not in the cage when we're doing this, right? Tell me about what it felt like to you. Listen to this. When you and your corner man walked all the way up through the dressing room, through the crowd, they all behind you. Sometimes one has his hand on your shoulder and they'll say, "Oh, I got you. We with you," until they get to the ropes. And you have to step in that ring, mano a mano, by
Yes.
yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Tell me about that feeling.
Yes. Yes. I talk about this a lot. And this is what a lot of people that got aspirations don't understand. Them lights can make the biggest, strongest person this small.
Bingo.
Them lights can do some things to people that make them forget what they even doing in there.
Right.
And guess what? They end up losing. A lot of people can't handle that spotlight. A lot
Nope.
of people cannot handle even being in that. That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of things in your brain that goes to your brain. But that's why I think this system that you got, it would be great to get them used to it, to get them adjusted to what they will be having to do in a bigger setting. And the thing when I first fought for my first world title, when I tell you my heart was palpitating like crazy, it was, and I've been doing it for a long time. I've been doing this for all my life.
Right.
But that square circle, like you said, does something to you. It gives you some type of sense of, man, man,
Oh yeah.
this is big. Like, so you got to be able to handle it, and that takes a process too. That takes a process, but fear, you can't be. It's a difference between nervous and fear.
Yeah.
I think with fear, you don't want fear, you want nervous. You
Yeah.
want to be nervous. You're not scared of the man, but you're nervous because all these people,
You don't know.
all
You
these
know. You know what
lights.
you're nervous about, Devon? You're
Yes,
nervous about the unknown.
yes,
You don't
yes,
know what you don't know what he's coming with. All you know is that you were in the gym doing the best you could, making your jab, your cross, your hook, your uppercut as good as you could get it. Now, you don't know what he's been doing and how prepared he is, and not only that, you don't know that man's heart, right?
yes,
And now
yes,
you could be more skilled, he could have more heart, or vice versa. And so it is that fear of the unknown.
yes.
By stepping in there, you don't know what's going to happen when
You
this
don't
guy
know.
hits you on the chin, or
You
how you're
know.
going to take it, or how you're going to react. You are hoping, right, that you trained enough, you condition yourself enough, and everything to be ready for whatever they're going to bring to you. So,
What did Mike?
what would be your message?
What
Yeah,
did Mike Tyson say? Everybody got a plan
until
until
they
they
get
get.
punched in the face. And that is absolutely the truth. And I think
That's
a
true.
lot of people do not understand that. And this is why we have this program, the PBSC, and how it is literally changing the face of boxing.
I
What
love.
would you tell some of these old school gatekeepers? What would you tell them about why this is so essentially important to their fighters and to those gym owners who have a gym that depends on money? In other words, if people pay membership, ask themselves how many people will actually be real fighters?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or if you have 10% of your people that are going to be real fighters and the other 90% just coming for recreation or learn how to defend themselves, what are you going to do with that 90?
Yes. Yes.
What would be your message to those gatekeepers?
First, I would tell them first, look at history. Look at history and look at all the change that has happened since 19, or since the start of boxing, since
Right.
19, 20, 30 to 50 to the 60 to 70. Look at that as a measure and look at what this program is now, what this program trying to. So we have these things, these CTE, everybody's scared of CTE, brain damage,
Right.
and